In 1982, Byron Preiss published this book. It contains 12 images and 12 verses. When you match the image and corresponding verse, it reveals the location of a cask. Inside the cask is a key. When the key is returned to the Preiss family, the finder is awarded a precious gem. This is the secret of treasure hunt. If you enjoyed the video today, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave comments. Today we're going to talk about image 2, verse 6 of The Secret, which is Charleston, South Carolina. So image 2 has a lion and a tribal mask and obviously has references to Africa. So the biggest immigrant in Charleston, South Carolina was Africans, were slaves. Over 40% of the slaves brought to America were brought through Charleston. So let's jump right into it and just get to the obvious markers in the image that show Charleston. This section of the image literally shows a map of Charleston, South Carolina. So there really isn't any debate out there about what the general location of the cask is, just specifically where it is in the park. One of the less obvious clues for South Carolina is the pear and the sunflower here. This looks like the South Carolina flag with the moon and the palmetto tree. There also used to be a Pearman Bridge that crossed the Cooper River right across the highway right here that also matches up with this tree branch. The next fairly obvious clue within the context of Charleston is the clock seen here. This clock is in the shape of Fort Sumter, which is just off the coast right here. So let's take a quick look at this clock and talk about some things that nobody ever really brings up. Why does it have a mouth with these sharp teeth? Why is it at 4 o'clock? Red, white, and blue stripes. This is a fort, so that makes sense. Also, the star maybe makes sense, but there could be more to this. Finally, why are there eyes that look like flathead screws? So there may be possible matches to this in the park that we're about to go to, but just keep that in mind that there are still a lot of things in this image that haven't been solved, so there might be a more direct solution. So from here, the clues in the image and the verse leads us to White Point Garden, which is at the southernmost tip of the Charleston Peninsula. So the hands or the arms of the clock here have white points. This could mean White Point Gardens. There are also a few other parts of the image that may relate to White Point Gardens. It's really in the verse where White Point Gardens really starts to fit in and make sense here. So let's take a look at the verse. So the verse starts out with, "Of all the romance retold, men of tales and tunes, cruel and bold, seen here by eyes of bold." Many believe that the first section of the verse here corresponds pretty well with the first lines of Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. Next, the verse says, "Stand and listen to the birds." So there's a bandstand right in White Point Garden, and there are birds all around. This is pretty obvious. It makes sense. That could be any park really, but there are more that show that this is the right place. Next, we have "Hear the cool, clear song of water." So while you're standing in the bandstand, you can also hear water, and that water is coming from the Hunley Fountain that's nearby. "Hearken to the words, freedom at the birth of a century," or May 1913. So this is where it gets a little tricky. There used to be a capstan in the park, and this capstan had a plaque that said 1913 on it. The capstan is from the USS Maine, which played a part in the Spanish-American War. The Spanish-American War freed several countries, including Cuba, at the turn of the century. So this capstan monument was actually torn down in 1986, just a few years after The Secret was published. So during that time, when they tore that down, they actually dug a big hole around the capstan to fit in the new monument. In doing so, we'll find out in a little bit that may have actually been where the cask was buried. So the next section reads, Edwin and Edwina named after him. So that section is from a book, Abroad in America, that references a black American that immigrated to West Africa to become an educator and politician. And his name was Edwin Wilmot Baden. So while he was visiting Charleston, he actually had twins named Edwin and Edwina. The next line reads, "Where law defended." This may reference several pirates that were hanged in Charleston about that same time. The next reads, "Between two arms extended." So between two arms extended, there are two statues that have extended arms that look like they're kind of pointing at each other. There are also several armaments that are on display, extended as if they are defending the fort, which it used to be. Next is "Below the bar that binds." So this could have been a bar of one of the capstan. This also could be the railing to the ocean just across the street from the park. "Beside the long palm's shadow, embedded in the sand, waits the fair remuneration, White House close at hand." So there are several palm trees, and the White House is the house at possibly the house right on the corner. It could be the house at Church Street. There's also this image of a cross in the image, so that could relate to Church Street. Right on that corner is a White House that looks like it kind of has several crosses in the windows, but then on the corner just next to that is another White House, and this is right across from two cannons, two arms that point outwardly, and the new monument that sits where the capstan used to be. So there are several solves for this in the park. If you go back and look at Josh Gates' Expedition Unknown, they go to Charleston in season 7, and they actually go and they look for the cask here. And they look for the cask between the two cannons next to the new monument. And if it was there, it's probably not anymore because they dug a big hole around to take the capstan out to put the new monument in. And if that was the case, then they uncovered it during construction, they dug it up, threw it away, and it's just not there anymore. They also get out some ground penetrating radar and go between the two monuments, the two statues that have their arms outstretched, and they don't find anything. There are also a few other clues around, so if you can actually go to the park in Charleston and figure out those other clues, then you might be able to pinpoint the exact location of the cask. It might not be between those two cannons. It might not be between the two statues that have already been looked for, and you might be able to find it. It might still be there because it's never been found. So hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave comments. Thanks.